All right, today I'm going to be talking about sharing my wisdom of 30 years in the business world into 12 lessons that you can apply for your own career. And look, business changes all the time. Human nature doesn't. And I've found that success comes from certain patterns that I've observed over this period of time. Some of these lessons I learned the hard way, and these lessons apply across industries and roles and seniority levels. So I want to distill all of this down into 12 truths and lessons that you can take for your professional career. But first, let me jump into myself. As mentioned, I've been in business for over 30 years. I've worked for some of the largest consulting companies in the planet. I've worked for Fortune 100 and Fortune 15 companies. I've led teams. I've led projects that had thousands of people on them and hundreds of millions of dollars. And over that time, I've learned what works to move work forward and people's careers forward. So today I'm going to talk about each of the lessons, why they should matter to you. And by the way, most of these lessons are also applicable outside of work in your personal life. And so hopefully you can take these forward and become a better person as well as a better professional. The first one is seeking to understand and to clarify. We're constantly getting bombarded with requests for work, and a lot of them are unclear or incomplete. And a lot of times people will ask for a task when what they're looking for is a solution. And I think it's really important to clarify what are they asking for so that you don't have to rework later. I think it's perfectly fine. It shows professionalism as opposed to making assumptions and coming back and being wrong. And building that understanding also builds trust and credibility so that people will come to you for future requests. It also reduces conflict and misalignment. So the question is, what are people really asking for? And why that matters is you don't want to waste your time on incorrect assumptions or duplicated effort. You don't want people to be frustrated that they waited a week and you came back and it wasn't what they looked for. It's helping the team to deliver on the right thing. And when you do that, you build yourself a reputation for accuracy as well as reliability. And then that builds the relationships with stakeholders because they know that you can be trusted, that you have quality outcomes, and then you just become a better communicator and a leader. So everything starts with seeking to understand and clarifying. Once you've done that, then you want to be diligent with the things that you're working on. So in this case, you want to wash the dishes when they pile up. And especially on projects, we have a lot of work, a lot of action items, and you want to keep track of all of these commitments and deadlines so that you're taking care of them, you're knocking them down, you're closing those loops, you're responding promptly and anticipating what's being asked for, because that's what builds your reputation for getting things done. You want to be proactive and show consistency and make it part of your identity. Follow through is everything. Those of us who are project managers know we spend a large amount of time following up with people on the things they said that they were going to do. You want to make sure that you're not one of those people. And why this matters? Because leaders rely on people who stay on top of the details. It reduces the need for others to chase you, right? If you're in my YouTube channel, then you're probably a project manager, which means you're chasing other people. You don't want to be the person that's also being chased. You want to keep the work moving. It prevents smaller things from becoming bigger because you're on top of them. And it also makes you stand out in any team because I will tell you, there's a lot of people who just do not do the things that they're supposed to do. And just by doing what you're supposed to do, you stand out and you build this reputation for a predictable, dependable kind of resource. So you've sought what to understand, you're being diligent, and aligned with being diligent is doing what you say. Again, it sounds simple, but a lot of people don't do this. If you say you're going to do something, follow through on that commitment, deliver on time. And if you can't, that's fine. Communicate early and manage expectations. Again, don't make people chase you. You want to over deliver, you want to be known for reliability, and you want to keep your word even when it's inconvenient because now you're building a track record of execution, which becomes your reputation. Those actions are what speak louder than intentions, than in words, and now you get a reputation for getting things done, especially if you're a project manager. Because why that matters? Well, that's what builds credibility. People and leaders want project managers who get things done, who deliver consistently, who don't need to be followed up on or micromanaged. And then you're the go-to person for important work, and that starts building your professional reputation, which then improves your career, as well as the team performance. However, it's not just about you, and people are the key to everything. People drive every project, every decision, and every outcome. And when you work on projects, you realize project management is people management. And so you want to build those strong relationships. You want to collaborate with team members because work is so complex and people are so nuanced and skilled in particular areas that you can't get anything done just by yourself, and you have to rely on other people. You want them to trust you. You want to build that respect and that influence. And that starts with listening to people and investing in people. Relationships outlast roles in companies. I will tell you, every single job that I have had since I've left college was a result of a relationship that I had from a prior company. And work gets done through relationships. Why this matters? Teams perform better when they feel valued. The relationships open the doors that skills can't. I talked about how that's helped me in my career um, significantly. It reduces conflict. You're building now a network that supports you over decades of your career. I have contacts at dozens, hundreds of companies across the world. You can navigate the change because you have a coalition of people. Work's more enjoyable. You spend so much time at work, more than you do with your family, that you want it to be enjoyable, and that comes with having solid relationships. And people will follow leaders that they trust in and that they believe in. Fifth, you also just want to be kind and genuine. I know this is kind of wonky, but you want to be authentic and treat everyone with respect and assume positive intent. And people are going to struggle, and you got to be patient. And I struggle with this as well. You want to celebrate other wins. I mentioned work is all about people. And not only do you want to build relationships, but you want to foster those relationships by being kind, by being genuine. And it really is a strength. And if you don't want to do it for altruistic reasons, you should do it for reasons because it's going to help you in your career. People work harder for leaders who care. People that have less stress get things done. They're more productive on projects. They're more apt to be open in their communication and tell you when there's challenges, which lets you fix things before they become a bigger problem. It helps retain talent. One of my favorite quotes in business is people join companies and they leave managers. People leave people that they don't want to work for, they don't think are genuine. And it really does strengthen your leadership brand. And kindness is remembered long after the tasks are forgotten. So it's so important. You also want to focus on what matters, number six here, and that applies to both home and at work. At work, you want to focus on the high impact work. You don't want to get lost in noise and distractions. And I know this goes a little bit against what I talked about with diligence and doing all the things that you said, but this is more about prioritization and focusing on the outcomes, not just the activity. So it's not just about the effort you put into it, it's what are the results that you're trying to achieve. And that really allows you to protect your time and energy. I am a big believer in balance and making space for families and hobbies. Look, I've been incredibly successful in my career. However, I coached my son's basketball team. I went to scouts. I went to soccer games. I went to band concerts. We did a ton of trips. And I tell people all the time, I can remember all of the trips that I went on around the world, Africa, Australia, Ecuador. And I was probably working on something important at that time for work, and I can't tell you what that was. So what matters is the memories that I have, the fact that I was able to sort of travel the world and do all these great things with my family that they're going to remember as they grow up, and I could still be successful at work. So that's where the balance matters. And you want to be intentional with your attention because what you focus on grows. This is probably the most important one. I can tell you. I will tell you, I probably could have been way more senior in my career, but then at the expense of balance. I don't think I would have had the time with my family or the memories in life. And at the end, how much does it really matter? And why does this balance matter? Well, it improves your productivity and your clarity. It helps you deliver on meaningful work, but it also creates a healthier work-life rhythm and prevents burnout, right? This is the long game in your career. You're going to be working for decades, and so you have plenty of time to be successful. And you want to focus on the kids when they're growing up and focus on your hobbies because you enjoy it. Life becomes more fulfilling when you have this balance. And similarly, look, titles matter, but they also kind of don't. So I think titles matter from a perspective that they show how you're valued at your company. Your company thinks that you're acting at this level and you have this level of responsibility, then you get the associated title. And to me, that kind of matters. And look, I'll tell you, the first thing I do when I meet somebody new is I look up their title. So it does matter, and the hierarchy matters, but you don't want to worship it. As I've grown in my career, I'm less and less impressed with titles, and it really is more about influence and your reputation. I will tell you, I have not put in my signature in my email my title in decades. I don't need to tell people my title. I want people to work with me and respect me for my experience, for my background, maybe for my humor, but not because of my title. And so that's where contributions matter more. And you want to treat everybody the same regardless of level. Let your work speak louder than your title. And I'm an idealist, and I believe that if you do that, the title does come. And by the way, if it doesn't, you go somewhere else. So why does it matter? It keeps you grounded and humble. It's not about your title. It's not about, you can navigate organizational politics. You're building respect. It's collaboration over ego. You can lead without authority. And look, reinforces that the value comes from the impact, not just from the name on your signature. Number 8 here, look to add value. Um, I believe every work relationship is a customer-based relationship. Understand who your customer is and what's important to them. If I'm a project manager, my customer might be my business, it might be the stakeholders, it might be the end user of the system that I'm working on, it might be another area of the business. Who are the customers? What matters to them? And then identify opportunities to improve things, come in with solutions and not just problems. Look to improve processes where possible. You want to support team members. You want to add value in every interaction. I have another presentation on what I call consulting guilt, which is, look, when I was a consultant, I was charging out at $250 an hour. And some days I'd say, wow, did I really provide $250 worth of value in that last hour? That's the kind of mindset that you want to have, is thinking about, am I providing value for my customers? And you want to be the person who makes things better. Why? Well, you become indispensable to the company. If you're providing your customers value, then they want you around. And in this economy, that's really important. You're building a reputation for impact. You're helping your team operate more efficiently. You're showing leadership potential because you're focusing on what matters to the most important people. And it differentiates you from from your peers who are maybe focusing more on just the effort and doing the work and not necessarily doing the work that's the most important. And it really does build that long-term career momentum. Number 9, though, you want to be flexible. As much as you can plan, as much as you want to be diligent, plans shift, priorities change all the time. I've seen it so many times. And by the way, you're also going to make mistakes, and you want to view that as a learning opportunity. And when plans change and when you make mistakes, you want to stay calm. You want to adjust without being dramatic. Uh, Change is constant. You have to learn to embrace it. And this is important because now you can thrive in fast changing environments, which is absolutely the environment we're in today, with geopolitical risk and AI and economic uncertainty. It makes you easier to work with. You want to be known as somebody who's resilient and who can adapt to change, because you become way more valuable to the companies that you work for. You want to keep growing and learning, and adaptable people absolutely rise faster in their careers. Number 10, care. You want to care. Care is being visible in your actions and taking pride in what you work in, advocating for what's right. What's interesting is I work with so many people that I feel like they just don't care. They don't care about their work. They don't care about their teams. They don't care about their companies. All they care about is the paycheck. And caring for those things is shows sort of stewardship for the company that you work for. It's a commitment to outcomes. That means caring when nobody's watching. You want to care about the work that you do because that's your reputation. You want to care about the team because they're going to be the ones who make successful, and you want to care about your company because ultimately that's where you're going to grow and hopefully get rewards. It matters because people follow leaders who genuinely care. And I believe that people can tell when leaders care and when they don't. And they'll work more for people that they believe care. That provides a higher quality of outcomes. It improves trust and loyalty, accountability. And caring is contagious. When you care, everybody else cares. I've also learned, this one's probably taken me the longest in my career to learn, is being confident. Early on, when I first joined my consulting company, I thought, wow, these are some of the smartest people in the world. And I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to bring anything up because I was afraid that I was an imposter or they know something more than I do. And it's taken me a long time to realize that confidence is so important. And on the flip side, you see people who are just ridiculously confident and they're flat out wrong. But because they're confident, people believe them and people trust them. And so you want to share your ideas. That confidence builds credibility and influence. It's taken me a long time to realize. Early on, I was in meetings and I didn't want to say something. And then I would realize, hey, what I was going to say turned out to be right. And it's taken a long time to realize that maybe my instincts are right and I should learn to trust them. So you want to speak with clarity. You don't want to wait to be invited to speak. Especially, I'm always conscious of being on calls where you don't speak. And I'm always thinking that other people are thinking, well, why is this person here? They're not even saying anything. And so the point is, your voice matters and you're probably right. Well, this matters because, as I mentioned, people listen to those who believe in themselves, even when they're wrong. That's the whole premise of consulting, is these high-paid people who come in, talk confidently, and somehow convince business leaders to spend hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars on them because of their quote-unquote expertise. This builds trust in your leadership. It helps you advocate. It reduces the self doubt and encourages others to speak up. And it turns potential into progress. And finally, be self aware. You want to pay attention to what you're saying and how other people are responding to you. That means being open to feedback. So you want to be confident, but you also want to be also a little bit aware of what you're saying and how it's being received, because just being confident, if not being received well, is not going to be successful. And so you want to adjust your approach based on what you're observing. You want to solicit feedback. Self-awareness really is a leadership multiplier, and I think the most successful people I've seen are the ones who are self-aware. And your impact is really shaped by your presence. And this matters because it strengthens relationships, it helps avoid misunderstandings. It's that emotional intelligence and empathy, and there's dozens of books on that. But the self aware leaders earn more trust because they can perceive how others are responding to them, and then they're adjusting accordingly to them. So, the point is, it's not about you, it's about everybody else. So I've said a lot here. I've learned that there's a lot of different ways that people can be successful in business. You can move up because of expertise in a particular area. You can move up because you do something really well. But at the end of the day, I think some of these lessons are pretty universal. And that's, business is about people and not tasks. Your reputation is built one action at a time. Do the things you say you're going to do. Be diligent about it. Clarity, kindness, and authenticity and awareness always win. I really believe that. But I also believe focus and balance shape your life. You're playing for the long game. Titles are going to fade. You see people who have vice president titles, but they're working at small companies. So how much does the vice president title matter? Where maybe you can go somewhere else, not have the as great of a title, and make a ton more money or be more satisfied with the work that you're doing. In any case, value creation is the ultimate differentiator. And then you want to be caring, confident, and adaptable because that's what makes you a leader. And all of these lessons will compound over decades. You want to sort of water the experience tree over here on the right and build those lessons. Let me know what you think of these lessons and if there's other ones that I missed. But thanks for watching so much.